ready?
Opponents are ready?
Yes.
Okay, judges, my time starts now. Okay, so condition 1, health. The people struggling in poverty do not have the financial ability to seek medical assistance. However, UBI can solve this since it provides a guaranteed basic income to every citizen, intended to lift them above the poverty line. Even though Taiwan already has a healthcare system, it does not cover everything, especially more severe cases. It's also funded by the tax from citizens. By providing financial aid, people will not only be able to afford medical help, their mental health will also be better, since they are no longer under financial pressure and stress. Multiple studies from around the world demonstrate basic income benefits, mental and physical health, lowers depression, illnesses, while creating access to health treatments and healthier housing situations. Further, since basic income is provided for life, it gives a floor for social and emotional growth, unlike means tested that claims to be welfare programs, but only produce anxiety and have unreasonably high application standards. This is also true for Taiwan. For all receptions in Taipei, only roughly about 5% of the people are actually eligible for welfare benefits. The Global Report for Research on Infectious World Disease of Poverty, put together by the European Commission and the World Health Organization and TDR, offers a clear rationale of this relationship. Poverty creates conditions that favor the spread of infectious diseases and prevents affected populations from obtaining adequate access to the prevention of and care. Ultimately, these diseases disproportionately affect people living in poor or marginalized communities. Driving a vicious cycle of poverty and disease, poverty is instrumental in cultivating conditions that allow diseases to spread. According to UBI Taiwan, from 2001 to 2010, average life expectancy in the most deprived townships was 73 years, a full 8 years less than the richest areas. Proving poverty will have a devastating impact. Without the help of UBI, poverty will create conditions for diseases to spread, trapping families in cycles of poverty and diseases, which also have been proven to be disseminated economic growth, as we saw in the COVID pandemic. My second condition is going to be entrepreneurship. UBI increases economic freedom and entrepreneurship, and also solves poverty in the process. First, a Mowat-centric report illustrated how UBI facilitates a thriving social mission ecosystem with enhanced risk-taking abilities afforded by the removal of mental stress that restricts the productivity and innovation. By de-risking social entrepreneurship for those who cannot risk the potential downsides, UBI can effectively address poverty. With more and more people starting businesses, this creates more jobs for the poor and others. By giving more people job opportunities, this creates self-employed workers to improve their job, and income stability is the key for them to form a pathway out of poverty. The Canada Child Benefit, CCB, a basic income for families, contributed over $46 billion a year to our economy, creating more than 45,000 jobs while lifting over 250,000 families out of poverty. For every $1 given to Canadian families, $2 is generated in economic activity. By guaranteeing some income periodically and being unconditional, it liberates the recipients of pursue the work and find meaningful, which in turn result in better economic outcomes. Another research in Alaska shows that income from permanent fund dividend lifts about 15,000 and 25,000 Alaskans above the poverty line each year. Further, estimates reveal that TFB has reduced Alaska's poverty rates by about 2.3 percentage points on average over the past 5 years.
Thank you.
Good morning, honorable judges for the opponents. The topic before us today is that Taiwan should enact UBI. We, the CON team, believe there is no need for change. As the first speaker of the CON, I will address the 4 reasons why Taiwan shouldn't implement UBI. Contention 1, financial burden. Providing a regular income to every citizen would impose a significant financial burden on the government, leading to reduced spending on the other crucial areas and may be unsustainable in the long run. According to In Zixuan, who is a scholar at the Hong Kong Institute of International Studies. UBI would increase the government's recurrent expenditure, placing immense pressure on public finances and making it challenging to sustain a program. For instance, the experiment in Finland in 2017, 5.51 million citizens would require an additional 36 billion euros per year, draining the country's resources. Additionally, UBI would add to Finland's welfare burden and may necessitate cuts in other essential areas like healthcare. Thus, it is evident that UBI would create a significant financial burden. Contention 2. Inequality. While UBI would appear to promote equality by providing a basic income to all individuals, regardless of their socio-economic status, it may only achieve formal equality. This is because the wealthy do not require the basic income as much as those who are economically at disadvantage. The principle of equality outlined in Article 7 of the Constitution acknowledges that true equality is not solely formal and absolute, but also guarantees the substantive equality of individuals' equal status. Therefore, it is important to consider the nature of normative things and treat them appropriately. Implementing UBI could exacerbate the existing inequality between the rich and the poor, which may not promote the ultimate goal of equality in our society. Contention 3. Dependency. UBI has the potential to create a dependency on the government, where citizens rely solely on their monthly income and do not actively seek out work or other sources of income, resulting in a lack of productivity in society. According to a report by Crossing News, scholars have suggested that UBI would lead many individuals to choose to stay at home instead of taking up low-paying jobs. This is because UBI already provides for people basic survival needs. However, this could lead to a decline in the country's economic competitiveness, and people may prefer low productivity and low stress jobs. In this scenario, although UBI ensures basic living, it can create a dependency and lower productivity in our society. Contention 4. Inflation. The concern is that if people have more disposable income to spend on goods and services, there could be a surge in demand while the supply remains the same. This could lead to price increases, which in turn could lead to inflation. According to a report by Izishin, he pointed out that the Finnish government's sudden termination of UBI experiment highlights some of the hidden drawbacks. According to his analysis, UBI could contribute to inflation, leading to higher prices. Unfortunately, if the basic income cannot keep up with the rising costs, low-income individuals will be affected. Governments would then face a dilemma of increasing taxes or reducing benefits to manage the increased public expenditure. Therefore, it is important to consider the potential risks of implementing UBI, as inflation could be particularly problematic for low-income individuals who might not be able to afford the increased prices. In conclusion, the Con has clearly shown the clear reasons that Taiwan shouldn't enact UBI, including financial burden, inequality, dependency, and inflation. You must reject the topic in this debate and vote for the Con. Thank you.
Okay, do you guys want to ask the question?
2 minutes.
What do you think is the intention or the goal of the system of UBI?
You mean like what is the purpose of UBI?
Yeah.
UBI is basically to help the poor people out of poverty who can have their own job and sustain their own lives without being dependent on the government.
But our topic is to enact unconditional basic income. So, don't you think the rich people is also contained in the UBI? But you just believe that the goal of UBI is to help the poor.
Yeah. Although it's unconditional, but the number one priority is to help these people out. And being unconditional doesn't mean that we're not like helping the poor, because we are actually still helping the poor. We're changing the status quo into helping these people out of poverty for them to get a better life.
So you said that UBI is a kind of system to help the poor. So what is the difference between the UBI system and the subsidies in the current system?
You mean like like social welfare systems.
And some low-income people can have.
Okay,
can
so
receive some money.
as I said in my speech just now, some of these welfare systems does not help the cases with these people in poverty. There's some of them like more severe, and as I'll say too, there's only a little percent of the people who are actually eligible for these welfare programs. So this clearly is not working. Okay, so now on to my question. You guys said something about lazy workers, right? About how they will lower productivity.
They will depend on the system.
But isn't like, how can you assume that these workers will work less? Because UBI, they won't decrease productivity because they're just adding on to their like original like salaries.
Can you restate your
Oh.
question?
Well, you guys said that UBI will lower productivity, but however, I'm not sure if that's true because UBI is just giving money to the people who already have a salary, so it's more like a bonus or a gift. So they wouldn't depend on that, rather.
But someone they have, no, like there are someone they don't have any jobs or they cannot earn money and they still get the UBI.
Even if they get the UBI, wouldn't they want to have their own job who can like support their own life?
But we have evidence that some people would depend on this, on the
Can you
system.
can you show us the like evidence?
I'll show you later. Thank you.
Okay, so I don't. It's 4 minutes. So judges ready?
Yes.
Okay.
If
So
you would like, you could leave the evidence with us. You could leave the evidence here. Is it physical or is it online?
It's
So-
physical.
Okay. You can,
I need to find it.
okay, no problem.
Okay, so my time starts now.
Yeah.
Attacking their contention on financial burden. This contention is false because not investing in UBI will actually put the government into more debt. A report by a chief public health officer in Canada estimates that investing $1 in UBI for children saves up to $9 in the future government spending due to decreased crime, health issues, and other assistance. And the government already pays so much money dealing with childhood poverty. 1.4 trillion spent on crime, and trillions of more money spent on other effects in childhood poverty. And this is not even counting the financial issues caused by adult poverty. And this is obviously cheaper to pay money to prevent poverty than to pay for the damages caused by poverty. And UBI will solve this because we'll spend much less money compared to other programs while being so much more productive. Further, a full UBI would grow the economy by 12%, according to the UBI model, and which means that the comparatively little money spent on UBI will actually be reinvested into the economy. Okay, so next, answering to their inequality contention. We turn their argument because UBI will actually push for equality. Welfare programs that target the poor would worsen the stereotypes already existing in society because they would label the applicants as failures and they would make them stand up. However, in the case of UBI, it is unconditional and universal, which can create a sense of social unity and cooperation by considering the dignity of people in need. UBI would stop existing stigmatizing social divisions caused by means-tested welfare systems because everyone gets the income, classifying all recipients as normal. Okay, so now answering to their contention on UBI lowering productivity. This isn't true because unlike welfare programs often have unreasonable application standards, people wouldn't have to meet any conditions to receive UBI, meaning there would be no reward or benefits for staying unemployed. And one off-site UBI study conducted to the Alaska Permanent Fund found no real impact on full-time employment rates and actually showed that part-time employment rate increased by 17%, proving their claim in small workforce wrong. And jobs tend to be pretty central to our sense of identity and human dignity, so free money won't be enough to prompt people to give their careers. Okay, lastly, addressing the inflation issue. It is unlikely that the government will print more money to solve the problem of inflation. And Taiwan already has extremely high saving rates and pretty low tax rates, so spending much less on social welfare compared to similar countries. And therefore, if we tax harder, then we can get the amount of money that we need for UBI and other social welfare. Right now, the tax rate for Taiwan is only about 18%, which is about 3.919 trillion NTD in 2022. And also, there are a lot of savings and room for UBI. And their attack on inflation is misleading because, firstly, inflation is caused by creating new money, causing cash to lose value, which UBI does not do. We are only redistributing already existing cash in the economy for a better and more productive purpose. And even if the government raises taxes, this will not actually decrease productivity rather than increase it. To get their money back, the people will work hard to get the money they got taxed back, which will increase the growth of the company and country. And we also have evidence that the existing basic income-like programs haven't caused inflation and harm the economy, so therefore UBI will have similar result. The Canada Child Benefit Basic Income for Families contributes over 46 billion a year to our economy, creating more than 450,000 jobs, while lifting over 250,000 families out of poverty, proving that the people who are receiving these benefits are actually contributing to society and actually helping the growth of the economy. And further, for every $1 given to Canadian families, $2 is generated in economic activity, proving that productivity is not only not lowered, the economy is further benefiting. Okay, thank you.
We need some prep time.
Okay.
How long? Only 1 minute.
Can we have more 30
Yeah,
seconds?
you have 2 more minutes. You asked for 1, but you have 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ready?
Good afternoon. I am the speaker too. And first, I will answer the disagreement from theirs to our contentions. First, they said that UBI's basic income is only a gift to them, and they can still find work. So they don't think that it will cause dependency. But according to our evidence, if people get basic incomes, they have money to survive, and some people will prefer to stay at home and not going out to work because they already have the money to survive. And next, they said that the UBI won't cause inflation because the money are already theirs, or they are just changing the way to spend it. But according to our evidence, when we give money to the people, the ability of them purchasing the goods or services will increase, and the money will go into the market, and the company will increase the prices, and that will cause inflation. And if we don't implement UBI, the money we're used in, such as public facilities or something, that will
go into the market, and so this is why UBI will cause inflation. And let's look at their points. First, they said that the purpose of UBI is to help the poor people, but why should we use unconditional basic income to help poor people? And they say that in the current system, some people really in need of help can receive the subsidies because they are not qualified. But if some people are not qualified and they can't get the need of help, we think that we should pay attention to change the system or to make the system better, because the people that really in need of help can receive the help because the system now is too strict, and so we should pay attention to change the system or to make the system better, not just give everyone money. And that would cause another question, is that where should the money that costs on UBI come from? Because if we implement UBI, it will cost $2 trillion, and that is the whole expenditure of the government 1 year. And with this much of money, where should those money come from? And why should we spend this much of money to just help these poor people instead of use these resources to make those people that in the current system who can't receive the help? Why don't we use the resources to solve this problem? Okay, and they said that UBI can make the financial loop and make the society's economic more better. But according to our contentions, people will depend on the government's basic income. The productivity of the society will decrease. And how can this create the financial loop or to increase the economy of the society? Last, they give us very many evidence about Canada or Finland, but those are in other countries, and we are discussing about Taiwan right now. So we don't think that those evidence can really work in Taiwan. They have to explain it. Okay, thank you.
Class 5.
So may I ask the first question? In which part of our PhD here we mentioned Canada or Finland?
Your evidence.
We didn't mention Finland.
Okay then.
We did mention Canada, but we didn't mention Finland. And
Okay.
so you said that why should we give people money if they are not working hard? So are you saying that we should just leave the people who are unemployed without the financial abilities to just
No,
leave them
we
there?
think that
single student?
we don't think that giving money to everyone is necessary, because there are some people that are already wealthy and they don't need the help.
Yeah, but then you had this contention about equality, saying that we need to push for equality. However, if you just give money to certain people, that's just stereotyping them, just proving them that, oh, you don't have the ability to support yourself that way. That's why we are handing you the bonus cash. But that will just further push inequality and stigmatize the society. Like, you had a contention about like equality, but then you said that we should not make UBI because it's universal. So that just contradicts your argument, because if we don't make universal, then the only people that are getting the money will be stereotyped into saying that they are the most vulnerable and need the most help.
Why would there be stereotype?
Because you're only handing money to certain people. Because you said that we should only hand money to people who are need them, right?
Yes.
But then by doing this, you're creating this. You're like stigmatizing them because like you are targeting them.
What is the harm of this? Does people discriminate them because they receive the subsidies?
Yes.
But when you receive the subsidies, people won't know that they receive the subsidies. You just get money by yourself.
But it's about like their dignity. It's not about.
Okay. Can I ask a question?
Okay.
where do the money come from if we want to implement UBI?
Firstly, Taiwan is a relatively high saving country, so we do have resources to finance it. And secondly,
Can you
okay.
say it?
Like Taiwan is a relatively high saving country, so we have the ability to save high saving country. Like we have. Yeah.
We are a high saving country.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we also can raise the taxes.
Raise the taxes.
Yes.
Won't people be angry or is this really workable, raising taxes?
Well, the poor won't need to pay the taxes because they have no income.
So you get the money from the wealthy people.
Yes.
And pay it to the poor people.
Yeah, but then technically the wealthy will also get part of the reason.
What's the difference from the current system?
The current system has really complicated application standards, so it's really hard for people to be eligible for the program. So it will not actually help any people. But UBI will actually give cash to everyone.
But maybe we can use resources on making the system better.
Can I take 130 of that?
Yeah.
You guys ready? Okay, so my time starts now. So first of all, they dropped our health argument, and they give no other solution of how they're gonna solve all these people in poverty with the diseases spreading and these people living in really bad social status. Well, first of all, you guys told this matters because there's lots of people suffering already, and clearly your welfare system has not been helping. So we're deciding to use UBI, which can actually help, as we proved on our previous speeches, that it gives these people a more advantage and more hope for their future life. Well, it matters because we're solving this inequality because we're making these poor have a better job where they can sustain their own life and move on towards the rich. And now moving on, you guys talked about how UBI, they'll depend on the UBI money to survive. However, you guys don't really give any evidence or examples of how UBI decreased productivity. While on our hand, we showed that the employment rate increased by 17%, making the workforce stronger. And now, onto inflation. You guys saying that they will give money to the people, increase purchasing power. You guys also don't give any example of how this has led to inflation. While we have shown in other researchers that this will lead to inflation. Now on to you guys' solution of how you're going to make the system better by making the laws more loose or stuff. But this kind of contradicts with the previous argument of inequality, because handing money only to the poor with the you said UBI creates inequality. However, your solution shows even more inequality because you're giving these money to the poor and not to the rich. While UBI, we give it to everyone. This generates more equality. And now you guys said, where does the money come from? However, we have shown that the government pays so much money dealing with child poverty, 1.4 trillion on crime, 2.7 trillion on healthcare and other programs, and yeah, which not using UBI will actually create more debt for Taiwan. Yeah. And now, UBI will, we went on. UBI will also improve people's health, which result in a higher standard of living, which creates more job opportunities for, because since they have these money to work, they will create more job opportunities for more people to lift themselves out of poverty. There have been research showing that these people can contribute more than 46 billion a year to our economy and creating.
Good afternoon, I'm the speaker one of the cards. We did above construction speeches and rebuttals. I'm going to summarize some crucial points about that. First of all is equality. Our opponent state that if we do not implement UBI, it will cause inequality since rich people cannot receive money, but the poor can. But according to our speech, we mentioned that the principle of equality outlined in Article 7 of the Constitution acknowledges that true equality not solely formal and absolute, but also guarantees the substantive equality. So that means that if we need to reach equality, we should not just give everyone money. We should give the people who really need it, since they are poor, and they have poor condition than the wealth. And another is in the crossfire of speaker 2, they have mentioned that Taiwan is a high saving country, but we don't know about their evidence. And as we know that Taiwan have a lot of debt, in our country. So why is our country is a high saving country? And also in inflation, since the opponent said that we didn't give a evidence, so I offer an evidence that cited on the local media. It says that inflation is caused because if we give people money and they will spend, if we give poor people money and they will give money to some people that need to maintain their life. So if the people find more money and the supply didn't meet the needs to meet the demand, so the prices will increase and it will lead to inflation. And also the opponent said that we didn't give the evidence of people will dependent on the system of UBI. But according to our evidence, it shows that other scholars pointed out that the UBI policy may cause many people to choose to stay at home instead of choosing low-income jobs in the past. So this evidence can show that people will be lazy and do not want to choose to work in the society. Thank you.
Can I use all my
It's grand cross. That's grand cross.
It's cross.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, grand cross.
Yeah.
Do you prefer we stand up or?
Up to you, whatever you feel comfortable with.
So do you guys have any questions?
I have one. Is that in your speech you said that we need to use UBI to solve the problem of to solve the health problem of people. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes. But in our current society, there already have some health insurance for people to use, and this could benefit them, and we don't need UBI.
But but then the healthcare will not cover, like, for example, before, like, if you break your arm or something severe, it will not cover it, obviously. So you need the extra cash in order to finance it.
Can the basic income really, but if you break your arm, it will cost like 10,000, not 100,000 or what for the surgeries. We don't think that basic income can really solve this problem.
But the welfare programs won't solve this problem either because they have
So
really
you
low
would
eligibility.
admit that UBI can't solve.
No, it will solve because UBI will first let people out of poverty, then they will actually benefit them by providing them medical aid. So it's not the other way around.
But in our current system, insurance can give, if people are injured, the insurance will give people money. So we don't need to worry about this because everyone they give money to the government for this, and if they have accident, they can take the money back for this situation. So we don't need. Why should we need?
Yeah, like I said earlier, like the healthcare is like covering basic.
Like what? Like example?
Like for example, you have.
And can we move on to the next topic?
Can we ask a question?
Okay.
So you stated that the UBI would actually decrease equality, but then you don't. In your case, you say that because we are only giving money, we should not give money to the rich and only to the poor. But how is that equality?
We believe that the true equality is not only
Everyone the same, but we
Yes.
can help the people who is their stage is low, so we need to help them to get the
it has to based on their status or economic situation, not just make everyone the same. That is not the true equality.
But based on the status quo of the welfare programs, they only focus on like people who are like who cannot survive something. But it's like their definition of poverty is actually really incorrect because the eligibility is actually low. So even the people in need, they won't actually be able to apply for the programs because it's really hard for them to get into the program. Yeah, like.
Wait, are you saying that the
Time.
Thank you.
Can I have my prep for?
Yes.
My time starts now. Our best argument was that UBI would help improve people's health, which would result in a higher standard of living and help people in poverty. Firstly, we went on probability because the people can use the extra cash for personalized usage on health and pay for more serious injuries. And the cash can also help them out of poverty, helping them out of their harsh conditions. And however, the opposition's argument on costly laziness has very low probability because we have evidence saying that the overall employment rate actually rose 17% when we actually installed an empirical example of UBI. And our magnitude clearly outweighs zero since the benefits of UBI can clearly help those people out of poverty and give them chances and jobs to work for the economy. And this way, giving people in poverty a way to sustain their own lives is the number one priority. And their magnitude is really low because their solution is their current status quo, which is welfare programs, but these welfare programs don't actually work because they actually only target the people who are really, really, really poor, and there are plenty of people out there who need the help but are not eligible for the programs. And by preferring your argument about inflation, you will be prioritizing the economy over helping the poverty, which is the impact of UBI. And even if you don't buy this, their solution for making social welfare available for more people does not work because when there is a higher value in the market, the productivity will be pushed up because the demand will also be higher, meaning that the people will have more money due to the UBI to help them sustain their lifestyles and also pay for the basic needs. And it's 2 minutes.
Yeah, good.
Okay.
Afternoon. First, we have to clarify that Taiwan is now in highly debt. So they said that Taiwan is a high saving country, so they have money to implement UBI. But actually, in the current situation, Taiwan is in highly debt, and UBI is a really big cost. So we didn't see that where should the money come from. So although you can. Maybe there's some money can use in the first year or the second year, but the UBI, this regulation won't be sustainable, and because we don't have enough money to make this system work. So the benefit that they said about increasing healthcare or helping the poor people won't remain long, and furthermore, those benefits are actually exist in the current system. For example, the healthcare. We already mentioned that we have the healthcare insurance and helping the poor people. They said that in the current system, there are many people that are not qualified for receiving the subsidies. But we believe that we should pay attention on changing the system, like restricted the system, and this will cause less money, and this will cost less resources. So don't think that we should make this put all of our money to give every people to solve this problem. And the UBI's benefits won't remain long, and furthermore, it will cause many harms, like we just mentioned before, the inflation and financial burden and inequality. When UBI has so many harms that we mentioned before, and the UBI benefit can't work, so you should vote for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Whenever you guys are ready. Floor is yours. Okay. So I'm gonna start with the notes that I made as well as all my drawings. Both were really crafted well in terms of how it was laid out, but the reality of exactly what was being said in that sense was done, nailed home by LOG. It's the idea of infrastructure. That was something for me that really stood out. That was a great point to put in this place of talking about unconditional basic income. But also the thing is that it wasn't ever about poor people, it's just unconditional. It doesn't matter about what status or what bracket you are in, which is something I think that all of you can take away from in terms of thinking about an umbrella of an idea. Right? But yeah, it's the infrastructure, it was that, the idea of bringing up more countries was really good in the beginning. Thank you so much for that. It allowed for a more leveled playing field in terms of a worldwide idea, an overview, which you guys did a very good job. For me, my vote would go for LOG. Dana?
You go first.
Sure, no problem. So good job, both team.
Yeah.
I mean, very good argument, especially I should say, from morning until now, your performance is the best so far, I feel. So very good for both of you. Let me give the specific comment for each side. For the pro, actually your argument, once you mention, somehow you emphasize the magnifier of that. Like you put $1 right now, you can earn more in the future, or saving more in the future. So that you gave the example of education. However, if you think put $1 in education is saving $9 in the future, so doesn't that mean you should put money in a more specific way instead of UBI? Like you emphasize education, right? So that's a specific area topic. So somehow it makes me feel, okay, since like you somehow agree we don't need the universal universal or unconditional income. You agree with the specific budget for specific issue. So that could be emphasized or elaborate more. And later your team mentioned inflation. Somehow it's very good point because definitely the com side always attack that point, inflation. But the answer you provide is high saving rate and low tax rate. That could be connecting to each other, but I'm wondering if you can provide more evidence why high saving rate can prevent the inflation or can help your argument to implement the UBI. That's for my suggestion. And for the com side, actually, I would say you also perform very well. I mean, remember that in English debate, English level is not really dominating factor. It's always about your content, your logic, and the evidence you provide. So no worry about English level, it's fine. I mean, as long as we can understand what you're talking about, it's enough. And I will try to say, the speakers from home side, you know how to use the strategy. That's very good, especially when they're crossing fire at that moment. You know how to skip the question you don't really want to answer. Instead, you give the question back to the opposite side. And that's a really good skill I would like to mention. But somehow, I'm not quite sure if you also mentioned the high saving and the low debt. But this relation, I'm a bit confusing from your argument. So from my understanding, you try to say the high saving can, you try to emphasize the high debt, and you also mentioned the high saving from the other side, but I don't know what's the relation between that. So this one you can elaborate more as well. And the last thing is, I would like to say the speaker too, Victoria from com side, you are pretty good because I noticed that most of you try to read your laptop or paper, but you try to use your own word. Just once a while, you look at your laptop. So that's very good. It's kind of provide eye contact with the audience and the judge. So yeah, good job. And overall, I still want to say you are the best. I mean, good job. Thank you. Oh, sorry, I cite for your team. Thank you.
Hello everyone. I'll explain the reasons for my decision. For me, today, this debate, both sides present that the need, the problem they want to solve in this society is basically there are some poor people that haven't been taken care of by the government. And this, the way they prove that is first they say there's only 5% of people is using the welfare right now, which I think this logic is a little weird because does that mean there are more people in need but they didn't get the money from the government, or does that just mean because Taiwan is so good so we only have 5% people that need the welfare money? Not so sure about that. So that's the first point. But I feel like the Kong side didn't really challenge that. So seems like you agree that maybe there are some people that we didn't really take care of, but we can just adjust our system to solve the problem. So in this aspect, I would say that for me, it's the poor side is obviously can solve this problem like easier than the current system. Then comes to the con side is whether it will have the drawbacks of the UBI, like what you said. The first one is some people they just don't want to work, so the whole society become less productive. And the second one is you think they will have an inflection. And these 2 points you provide, at least in your statement, you say we have evidence to say this. We have evidence to say with UBI some people stay home. Okay. I remember in the first course fire or the second one that the pro side has challenged for this evidence, and during the last the whole debating, I didn't really understand the evidence's source or like what's the data really said. And for the second one, that you say the evidence for the inflation is once government give people money, then they will have an inflation. And for the pro side, they didn't challenge this evidence, but they also challenge it with their two statements. First one is they think Taiwan already have a high saving rate. Okay, high saving rate means, I think what she wants to say is everyone earn the income but save a lot in their bank. So once, but this logic is also a little bit flawed, because what you want to say is just, so if a lot of people have money to spend now, we are just, the whole Taiwan's consumption situation is just back to normal level like other country. So maybe Taiwanese people spend too little now, but with UBI, people spend more, so people have a some inflation impact, that's normal level. But the problem is that in this case, inflation will still exist, will still have a more inflation problem. It's just you think that's the normal level. Okay. Another argument here is you think Taiwan's tax rate is already quite low, which these 2 points I don't really know how it can challenge inflation's issue. But for me, it's like this inflation issue will have a confliction with the economic benefits that the point cite. Also with the Canada's evidence showing that they have 4 times people can have help the economic have a 17% growth. Sorry, I don't really note the detail of this data. But anyway, for me, it's like the 2 issues that the clone size have burned. The first one is people will work less. This is a conflict. Your evidence is not that clear and conflict with the other evidence that the pro size have a showing in Canada. And the second issue that you bring about inflation, for me, in the end, is not that clear with the economic change with UBI. And of course, I totally agree that if UBI is for poor people, then why because today the poor side only focus on the poor people, then why we need UBI? Why we don't just give more money to poor people? And according to them, that because there are some people you just cannot take care with the current system, this saying, for me, they can still solve this issue a little bit more than the current system. That's why I vote to the pro side, because the benefit for me is slightly better than the current system. But I also want to note that I think the pro side today can also challenge more, not just like who can help poor more, but also the impact on other groups people, like for the middle class or rich people. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So that's
So
congratulations, good job, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good job.